if we look to the answer as to why for so many years we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth, it was because here in this land we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth. The price for this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. Those who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look. The sloping hills of Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses or stars of David, they add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom. Each one of those markers is a monument to the kind of hero I spoke of earlier. Their lives ended in places called Belleau Wood, the Argonne, Omaha Beach, Salerno, and halfway around the world on Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Pork Chop Hill, the Chosin Reservoir, and in 100 rice paddies and jungles of a place called Vietnam. Under one such marker lies a young man, Martin Treptow, who left his job in a small-town barber shop in 1917 to go to France with the famed Rainbow Division. There on the Western Front, he was killed trying to carry a message between battalions under heavy artillery fire. We're told that on his body was found a diary. On the flyleaf, under the heading, "My Pledge," he had written these words: "America must win this war. Therefore I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone." We must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. It is a weapon that we as Americans do have. Let that be understood by those who practice terrorism and prey upon their neighbors. As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We are Americans.
Left. Memorial Day 2016, I want to thank each and every one of you for attending. It's particularly inspiring for me to have the privilege to represent a district which so proudly and profoundly embraces our great nation. Thanks to each and every one of you. Those things that are most precious and most dear are only saved through sacrifice. And it is that sacrifice that we remember and we celebrate today. For many, this is a troubling and an unsettling time in our nation's history. During these times, it is best to recall and rely upon principle, for it is the principles which are steadfast and are true. Principles like life and liberty and freedom and service. And those principles are only secured through sacrifice. Since Memorial Day last year, Georgia has lost at least 5 brave men and women who heard the call to that cause greater than oneself and who laid down their lives for us, for you, for me. They fought for us all. Army Private First Class Montarius Daniel from Griffin, Airman First Class Casey Ruiz from McDonough, Army Specialist Kyle Gilbert from Buford, Staff Sergeant Chester McBride from Statesboro, and Lance Corporal Skip Wells, a Marine from right here. In so doing, we allow our posterity, those who come behind us and follow us, to take up the baton, to pick up the mantle, and continue what we all know to be the last best hope for the world. What a great joy it is to be able to join together, all of us, on this special day. What an inspiration and comfort it is to remember the men and women who lived and died that we might live and thrive. We especially remember them, we celebrate their lives and lift them up as ones noble and true, for they fought for us all. May God bless you. May He continue to bless the United States of America, and may He give each of us the wisdom and the courage to live lives worthy of the sacrifice of each of those who died for us. God bless you.
Laying of the wreath today, Grant McGarry, former U.S. Army Ranger. It's Amazon best-selling author of A Night in Peck Valley, and a combat veteran with 5 deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan and the war on terrorism. Upon graduation from the University of Alabama with a degree in finance, Grant reported to Fort Benning for the hardest thing the Army has to offer. Following the Ranger Indoctrination Program, he was assigned to the 1st Ranger Battalion in Savannah and held a number of leadership assignments from machine gun team leader, Squad Alpha and Bravo team leader, and graduated from the U.S. Army Ranger School. On his last deployment, while searching for a high-value target, McGarry's squad was involved in a vicious firefight with enemy forces in the Peach Valley. As a consequence of his actions in battle, McGarry was awarded the Bronze Star with Valor. After his enlistment, McGarry was a security contractor at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Since returning to his hometown of Roswell, Georgia, Grant McGarry started Live with Ranger Creed LLC, co-founded the Darby Project, a 501c3, and is at Emory University pursuing a JD MBA. Grant and his wife were blessed with a son, Gunner McGarry, this year.
Once they move it, go ahead and introduce Tom for his remarks.
Okay.
The Corps, bareheaded, saluted, with eyes up thanking our God that we of the Corps are treading where they of the Corps have trod. They are here in ghostly assemblage, those of the Corps long dead, and our hearts are standing attention as we wait for their passing tread. We, the Corps of today, we salute you you Corps of an earlier day, and we follow close order behind you, where you have pointed the way. The long gray line of us stretches through the years of a century toll, and the last one feels to his marrow the grip of your far-off hold. Grip hands with us now, though we see not. Grip hands with us, strengthen our hearts, as the long line stiffens and straightens with the thrill that your presence imparts. Grip hands, though it be from the shadows, while we swear as you did of yore, or living, or dying, to honor the Corps and the Corps and the Corps. You see, freedom isn't free. Our veterans like Murley, brave and selfless, are key to our freedom and this nation's legacy of greatness. Second, let me talk about what opportunities are associated with serving and becoming a veteran, and how many of us has received so much, although we've sacrificed so much. I'm speaking to the young people in the crowd today. So it has to do with this young African-American boy raised on Chicago's West Side, which is now called Chirac today. For me, there's been a lot of personal sacrifice, but I've received so much more than I gave. I gave some, and some gave all.
This is my father, James Mozart Strickland from Newnan, Georgia. Dad was born 03-13-23, making him a young 93. Dad has the distinction of having served in 3 armed forces, the Navy, the Marines, and the Army.
I've served as a United States Marine for over 7 years, and of all the hazardous duties and assignments I've endured, the hardest, although not hazardous to myself, but that filled me with the most honor, is escorting my brothers home, the ones that didn't make it.
Just a real quick quote from Lieutenant General Tom Kelly back in Desert Storm. Iraq went from the 4th largest army in the world to the 2nd largest army in Iraq in less than 100 hours. Thank you, veterans.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, 'cause I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me, and I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. 'Cause I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. God bless the USA.
Massey McGinley, everybody. Massey McGinley.